So I've got a lot of comments asking about my stunt setup and basically what I'm running and different things like that. I've also got a lot of comments asking about what I would recommend for a beginner stunter. So today's gonna kind of be both. So I'm gonna go over the parts that I'd recommend for a beginner, and then in that same instance, you're gonna see all the stunt parts and stuff that I've got as well. So kind of a 2-for video. So first I'm gonna start off by going over what I'd recommend for a beginner and what I pretty much tell everybody that messages me and says, I wanna start wheeling, what do I need? So we're gonna go over that first. So the first thing I'm gonna recommend for any beginner stunter is gonna be a sub cage. Now, talking about beginner, I'm mainly talking about the fact that it just protects the bike. Now, obviously you can use it for standing up on and for scraping and all that kind of stuff. But mainly when you're a beginner, you're gonna wanna protect your bike. You're going to loop. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, whether you've been doing it a while or a little bit, it doesn't matter. You're going to loop. Just doing wheelies, it's inevitably going to happen. Now, as for the brand of sub cage, I'm personally running a Zab Fab sub cage. On my Z125, I ran a Get Bent design sub cage. And then the other one that I can think of that I kind of want to recommend is going to be the Stand Up Industries sub cage. I've never owned one. I've just used it or rode on a bike that somebody had with it, and it was really comfortable as well. Now, the reason I run the Zab Fab mainly is because the feet are in a really, really comfortable position. I really like how the X bracing is and the bottom plate is super solid. I've dropped it plenty of times and I've never had any damage. It's got Delrin sliders on the sides as well on the back. So I really like that as well because you could change it. If you scrape as well, you can change that. I just kind of hope they come out with that titanium slider. That's the only downside I could see to it, but they'll probably be coming out with one soon, and then I'll probably get that, and then I'll be scraping and throwing sparks, which is really what I want. Now, I also recommend getting some axle sliders, especially for beginners. You're gonna drop your bike. Try to protect your bike. That's the biggest thing when you're learning. Just learn, protect your bike, get some axle sliders, get a sub cage, and get some bar end sliders. They protect your handlebars, your plastics. They're really needed. So now we've gone over all the things to protect your bike. So we've got the sub cage, the axle sliders, and then the bar end sliders. Now, if you wanted to go a step further, you could get pegs. It's not 100% needed, but if you're gonna be doing some hard stunting, you're definitely gonna want those pegs. Now, as I've said before, with stunting, you're gonna drop your bike. It's inevitable. So when you drop your bike, the stock handlebars are not gonna be able to take that blast. So you're gonna need to get you some pro tapers, Renthols, something stronger. Now, while you're upgrading your handlebars, you might as well get something a little more comfortable. So personally, I'm running the KLX 110 bars by Pro Taper, but you might not like those. They're a little bit lower and they're also a little bit wider than the stock handlebars. Now, personally, I'd recommend just going to like a Cycle Gear or something, finding all their handlebars, testing them out, trying to find the best thing you can, and then asking really nicely to take it outside and set it up beside your handlebars. Just picking out a good handlebar and a really comfortable handlebar is probably a bigger deal than you think. Part of being in a wheelie a really long time is just being really comfortable with your bike. So try to pick out the most comfortable bar that you can. So now we've talked about protecting the outside of your bike here. Now we're gonna talk about protecting the inside of your bike. So on the inside of your bike, you have an oil pump on the front section. Now that's not an issue until you pop up a wheelie. Now when you pop up a wheelie, all the oil goes to the back section of the motor away from the oil pump. So it can't pump the oil to the motor where it needs to go. So eventually you'll seize your motor or you'll cause damage. Eventually you're gonna have an issue. So you get a oil pump or a modified oil pump. I highly recommend these straight up oil pumps. That's what I have always run. But you get an oil pump and it has a tube on the side or on the back. And basically the pickup on the oil pump is moved from the front section to the back section. So you're picking up oil from the back. So if you do pull up a wheelie and all the oil goes to the back, it does not matter. You're still getting the oil from the back. It's not that expensive and it's something that really needs to be done if you want to do stunting. I think a motor rebuild is about 150 bucks and the oil pump is like 50. So just get it over with, buy the oil pump, get it over with. Now, while we're in this area, let's go ahead and talk about the clutch. With the clutch, everything is fine other than the clutch springs. They are not stiff enough. They are a little too weak. So basically, while you roll off and do a wheelie, the wheelie doesn't pop like it could. So what you do is you get a stronger clutch spring or a couple clutch springs, put those in there, and then it creates more pressure, which creates more pop. You can do this by getting all brand new springs and just get them all a little stiffer, or do like I did and get Hayabusa springs, just get 3 of them and then replace 3 of your springs, and then the other 3 just leave stock. I have a video going over all this and showing how to do it as well if you guys are kind of confused. But the clutch springs are definitely needed, especially if you want to try to wheelie after first gear. Now, the last thing I recommend for beginners is definitely going to be a 1-finger pull clutch. Now, the reason I recommend this is because when you pull in the clutch and you pop it, you're going to be able to pop it with 1 finger and have your other 3 fingers on the handlebars, really gripping down and not having to worry about falling off. Now, if you had the 4-finger or stock clutch lever, then you possibly would use all 4, or you would use 2 and just they'd hit your knuckles. So I highly recommend just getting the 1, makes it easy. And then eventually, if you ever get a handbrake, you've got the 1-finger pull, you're ready to go, you can get a handbrake, then you can pop the clutch and then use that middle finger on the handbrake. Also, as a beginner, you do not need a handbrake setup. Just use the clutch, use your foot brake, get good at sit downs. After you excel at sit downs and get better at them and you can control an actual wheelie, then you can think about getting a handbrake. But don't worry about it when you first start. I learned stand-ups first and then sit down second, and it was a total mistake. So just learn from me. Now, I could have kept going with all the mods. I could have said exhaust and intake and all this other stuff, but it's not really necessary. The only other thing that I could say that might help a little bit is stainless steel lines, just to give you a little bit better of a brake feel, but it's not 100% necessary. Other than that, the bike is 100% fine stock. You can wheelie it 100% stock if you can, but the biggest thing is do protection and protect your motor. The rest is just kind of like if you want it, but it's not really necessary. But anyways, that's pretty much it. Pretty simple video. I'll be coming out with some more videos to help you guys out, especially the beginners out. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.